Let's talk about our hopes and dreams, beyond the reach it seems. Let's talk, confess I live in hell, I failed to fall in scheme. Maybe we can find a pathway forward or a clue, so we may together be a symbiotic harmony, where I can talk to you, you can talk to me. Let's talk, let's talk. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk.
Welcome to the Talk Vermont. I am Reverend Arnold Thomas, and at this time when we celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation, I am pleased to welcome individuals who are residents of this state, who are also residents of this nation, who have contributed so much to the life of this community, but who were born outside of this nation. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. I will introduce them by name, and then I'm going to let them further introduce themselves. They are State Representative Rey Garofano, John Steve Papouto Felix, and the third person who is not yet here but will be joining us shortly is Corali Cotrina. And I should also let you know that this is a live broadcast. So if you, the viewers, have questions you wish to ask, please dial in. The number is 802-862-3966. 862-862-3966. I have asked them to share their perspective and experiences on this 200th anniversary of our nation. But first, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, starting with you, Rey.
Great. Thank you so much, Reverend Thomas, and thank you for the invitation, and thank you, CCTV, for hosting us today. My name is, actually my real full name is Golrang Garofano. I go by Rey, and I'll get into that as we talk a little bit why I changed my name. But I was born in Tehran, Iran, and I have lived in Vermont for 21 years, but in this country since 1984. So certainly consider myself an American, but often have, that immigrant's heart and kind of grit. So I look forward to the conversation as we really reflect on what this anniversary of the country means to us.
Well, thank you for being here. And I need to remind myself and others as well that we are a nation built on immigrants. And
yes.
So that immigrant heart is one of the characteristics that makes this nation such a wonderfully diverse community to live within, although the challenges remain.
Yes.
Papouto.
Thank you, Pastor Arnold, for inviting us, and thank you, CCV TV, for hosting us. As Pastor Arnold said, my name is John Steve Papouto Felix, and I go by my middle name, Papouto. I'm from Haiti, and I've been living in Vermont permanently since 2020. I went to Vermont State University, and I got my associate's degree in electrical engineering.
Great. And I don't mind bragging, if you, the viewers, don't mind, is that Papouto and his family are members of the church that I formerly pastored before I retired, Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, and so he was one of the top individuals on my mind when I considered this broadcast. So you've introduced yourself by name, where you were born. I also would like to know, you, Rey, are state representative. Mm-hmm. Say a little bit more about that, and also both you and Papouto, if you could share what life was like growing up. you were born in another country. Who were the individuals who made a huge impression on your life? And how did you end up in Vermont?
Okay.
Let's start with you, Papouto.
Okay. So in Vermont, my sister Stephanie Felix, she attended she first attended Vermont Technical College, and then she transferred to Champlain College. And then she was the one who encouraged me to come to VTC, because she said Vermont is a really good state to learn. It's peaceful, quiet. The crime rates are very low in Vermont.
So your sister was a huge influence on your life.
Yes, Stephanie Felix.
Great. And how was life? You were born and raised in Haiti.
That's correct. Yes.
Say a little bit more about that experience before you came to Vermont.
So the culture is very different. I grew up in a Christian family, and I attended a Christian high school and also Christian middle school. And Haiti, as you guys might know, is a French-speaking country, and we also have our dialect, which is Haitian Creole, and it's a mix of French, some Spanish, and English. So everyone who attends school in Haiti speaks French, because all our courses in high school, middle school, they're all written in French. And as for English, we do have some private American schools, which teaches both in French and English. And I was very fortunate to attend high school, which was both in French and English, which is why I'm able to speak English and French.
Great. Thank you, Papouto.
You're welcome.
Ray, tell us about life before you became an American citizen and before coming to Vermont.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was born in Iran. I moved here in 1984. I was 12 years old. So I was at that really strange kind of adolescent age that is not a great age to be anyway, no matter where you're growing up, but especially as an immigrant who does not speak English. And when we moved for political reasons, at the time Iran and Iraq were in midst of a really horrible war, and my brother was going to be of an age where he would just be mandatory, be sent to war to fight on behalf of Iran. So we left rather quickly without major plans. And it was just me, my mom, and my brother. So my mom had never worked in her life. She was a housewife, didn't have a formal education, and here she was with two young children. My brother is 1 year older than me. Went to Spain, lived there for a few months, and were able to get a tourist visa to come to the U.S., applied for asylum because my father was a Baha'i, which is a different religion in Iran, and Baha'is were being persecuted at the time under the Islamic regime. But our claims were denied. So I have lived the life of an undocumented immigrant and really understand what it's like to kind of look behind your shoulder all the time and be terrified of losing your job or losing your health insurance, which is connected to your job. And we lived like that for some time until we were able to afford attorneys that helped us kind of get through the system. So, matters of our immigration system in this country are really important to me because I've stood in those lines and, been, faced the customer service reps at immigration that don't really have any information, just tell you to come back the next day. And, these were the days where, 30 years ago, our country wasn't as aware as it is today as far as accessibility, language, justice, and things that we have, made a lot of progress on, thankfully, right? I think sometimes we forget about the progress that we've made. Like you mentioned earlier, this country was built on immigrants. It is diverse and has so many things to offer, but there's still a lot of problems. But we have come a long way, even from 30 years ago. A lot of this work, there's a lot more assistance now for people. There's a lot more nonprofits that help people, and there's resources for folks. So, moving here was, I obviously remember life in Iran. I was young, old enough to remember that life and the oppression after the regime. I lived through the revolution. I was only 7 when the revolution happened, the Islamic Revolution, and
That was in 79.
79, and literally saw the country change overnight. You know, everything changed. Access to education, access to food, access to freedoms, being able to, you know, walk out of your house the way you used to dress was completely ripped away from people. And then coming here was challenging. You know, I remember thinking growing up, and I don't know if you had this experience, Papouto, is when you grow up outside the U.S., in my case and our family's case, the U.S. was like this beacon of hope, that everything's possible here and it's just this amazing place. You just need to get there, right? Like, that's the goal, just get there. But life was really hard. We didn't have support. We didn't have financial support. My mom had to work several jobs. You know, one of the things I reflected on when reading some of the comments you sent is like, who influenced me as my mother? Like the work she did to really raise us on her own in California, where she didn't know anybody, didn't know language, had never worked. So it was hard, but we managed, and you know, I was very fortunate to have really great professional mentors in my life. Have been working professionally since I was 16 years old. Wow. Didn't go to college as, you know, in a traditional way. I got my degree when I moved to Vermont at Champlain. So, you know, this country has given me a lot, but it was a rough road.
Yeah.
You know, because we can do so much better for immigrants that provide so much to our economy and our infrastructure and the way we live, and like educate us about the world, really.
Yeah. By the way, excuse me. By the way, please call me Arnold.
Okay.
I know it may be difficult for you, Papouto. You've been used to calling me Pastor for the longest time, but feel free to call me Arnold.
Arnold, okay.
I need to also let our viewers know that many of you may not know that the iconic symbol, one of the iconic symbols of the United States, is the Statue of Liberty, which was a gift, by the way, from France, celebrating the abolition of slavery, and at that time, the 100th anniversary of our nation. However, the pedestal on which the statue was placed was built through fundraising by Americans. So the gift was from France. The fundraising to build the pedestal was occurred through fundraisers of Americans. And the plaque on the pedestal conveys the sonnet of a Jewish American poet, herself the product of Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe. Her name is Emma Lazarus, who described the statue as the mother of exiles. We call it the Statue of Liberty. She referred to it as the mother of exiles, and proclaiming and this mother of exiles, which we call the Statue of Liberty, proclaimed to the world, and I quote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. Her feet walking over, I lift my lamp beside the golden floor." Now, another thing you may recognize is that the Statue of Liberty holds this flame, this lamp, sort of a beacon to the world for refugees, for those seeking to be citizens of the United States. The viewers also, you viewers may also not know that the French sculptor of this statue, Frederic Auguste Bartholdi, originally considered having the statue not raising a torch, but raising broken chains, signifying liberation from slavery and tyranny, but ultimately decided this would be too divisive a symbol shortly after the Civil War. Cornell University historian Maria Cristina Garcia says that the barely visible features of the chains on the statue is symbolic of Americans' having forgotten their past. So the next time you visit the Statue of Liberty, I hope that you make a concerted effort to look behind the robe of the statue and notice that this Statue of Liberty, is walking over broken chains, signifying liberation of those who seek our shores, liberation from tyranny and slavery. So I'm going to ask you, Rey and Papouto, your experience, both positive and whatever, as American citizens who were born in another country, when you come to the 250th anniversary of this nation, what thoughts go through your mind?
It brings back a lot of memories of our past heroes, the ones who really fought and made America the America it is today. And there's a lot of names, and if I were to mention every single one of them, it would be way too long. And something else it does, it helps us remember the past, both the positive, like you said, and the negatives. That way we can, so yeah, it helps us remember our past. That way we can realize our mistakes from the past in the future in order to have a better future.
Thank you, Papouto. Before we continue, I want to introduce our third guest. And as she gets connected, is it Corali or Corali?
Corali Cotrina.
Corali Cotrina. Corali Cotrina is, well, I've known her in her role as a immigrant rights activist, but I'm sure she carries several hats. But Corali, I'm so glad to have you with us. We've had Rey and Papouto introduce themselves by saying in that you were not born in this country, but are presently an American citizen. Share your, first where you're from, and what were the influences, major influences in your life, and how did you end up here in Vermont?
Yes, I came to Vermont seeking a better, future and greater opportunity to study and gain international work experience. Like I mentioned, in 1999, about almost 27 years ago, and over time, Vermont became my home, and I have been proud to contribute to the community that welcomed me at that time. So.
We're so glad to have you here.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So
Nice to meet you.
I also asked my guests here, including yourself, to share what your thoughts, experiences are on this 250th anniversary of this nation. Papouto shared a bit of his experiences. I'm going to go to Rey, and then we'll turn to you, Corali.
Yeah, thank you, Arnold. As an immigrant, and also share that my husband's also an immigrant. He's Canadian, and our daughter is Black. So, I moved to Vermont in 2005, and as an immigrant who speaks English without an accent and presents white, I didn't experience, I had moments where if I shared with people where I was from, I would get a reaction, or, so I certainly had negative experiences. But it wasn't until my daughter came home in 2010 that, even in beautiful, liberal, progressive Vermont, really it opened my eyes that, wow, she can't change her appearance, right? And really experience the otherness and racism, sometimes very subtle, sometimes very overt. Her first major experience experiencing racism in school was the day after Donald Trump was elected the first time.
Oh dear.
That morning. And she was already devastated by the loss of Hillary Clinton because we were so excited. She was so excited. She was 6. and went to bed thinking she was going to wake up to a female president in our nation's history for the first time.
A lot of us did.
A lot of us did. And to wake up to that heartbreak and then go to school and have someone tell her that she doesn't belong here because she's Black was eye-opening. And, you know, it really, I think that experience what kind of drove me to a lot more to get involved with community service and serving my community and helping people understand more that, you know, I think there's this narrative that because Vermont is so liberal and progressive and blue, that this kind of stuff doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
And we all know that it does. We've all experienced it, some to different degrees. And, you know, I will say that our school district and our, you know, when we have been faced with these challenges, we've had the support that we requested for the most part. So that makes me hopeful. And I think a lot of communities and school districts are work that you're doing, supporting immigrants, helping them understand what their rights are. You know, again, like there's a lot of support out there, but we can't do it all, and there's always more work to be done. So reflecting on 250, I think we've come a long way, but boy, is there still so much work to do.
Yeah.
And we need to remember, like I think, I listened to the Ezra Klein interview today, Brian Stevenson, and I recommend it highly to everybody. And he talks so much about, you know, just acknowledging our past. And I think that's something as Americans we are not great at. You know, we just don't want to feel uncomfortable and we don't want to hear that we've done bad things. And, you know, but I think acknowledging our past helps us learn from our mistakes, to your point, Papouto, and say, like, what can we do better? Where can we improve? And it's a constant evolving improvement that we need to be focused on.
Yeah, yeah. Corali.
Yes.
What thoughts and experiences can you share about being in America on its 250th anniversary?
Well, where can I start? Definitely, as an immigrant and now American citizen, I've been an American citizen for, I don't know, over 15 years or maybe even more. I lost my count with that. I feel both gratitude and also responsibility, to tell you the truth. There's equally feelings there. The United States has given me the opportunity to discover what I am capable of and to pursue my fullest potentials despite significant personal, emotional, social, economic, and cultural challenges. Those experiences have shaped who I am today, really. If I wasn't arrested for being a passenger, I probably wouldn't be doing this work, and we both wouldn't be friends.
Right. That's right.
And I treasure that, so to think that they detained me then. Even though back then it was like, what's going on? First time detaining my life, you know, being cuffed and putting into a trooper. But at the same time, this anniversary reminds us that the nation's history includes both extraordinary achievements, right, and difficult chapters that we all know. I believe honoring American means celebrating its progress while continuing to work towards the highest ideals of liberty, equity, justice, and opportunity for everyone. I think we found that if we don't kind of supervise, monitor, and evaluate back, we are not going to grow. And in some ways, even though all these years, I feel that we are stuck. We haven't made really the progress that we could. And I think acknowledging many of the systematic barriers will be a good step forward. And I think this is what is happening now. It's no denying. So that's a good thing, that the invisible monster is already visible. It's visible now. So nobody can say what are you talking about? So in a way, I think it is a step forward, even though it doesn't feel like, you know what I mean?
So Corali, you were born in Peru, Papouto, you in Haiti, Rey, you in Persia, or Iran.
Yeah.
Are there any communities in this state that have similar heritage backgrounds that you can find a sense of community beyond the communities that you already have?
Okay, so as for Haiti, I think we have a lot in common with some of the Africans that are in Vermont currently, the ones from the Republic of Congo, Nigeria. We share a lot in culture and costumes, and we have a lot of the same food dishes too.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? And also most of the countries from the Caribbean, like the Dominican Republic, we tend to get along pretty well because we understand each other's culture. And is there anywhere else?
So there's a significant presence of both Haitian as well as Caribbean
Yes.
communities here in this state.
Yes.
I guess specifically in Burlington, where you can feel a sense of a community
Yes.
beyond the wider community itself. Yeah. How
Even
about
the
you, Rey?
Dominicans.
Yes,
Yeah,
even the
the
Dominicans,
Dominican.
yes. And I feel like the
Dominican
Haitian,
Republic, yeah.
the Haitian population is growing by a lot. Because when I first came here in 2020, there were not too many Haitians in Vermont.
In fact,
Yep.
it is the what I would say, the non-native African American community that is really contributing to the growth of the Black community in this state. So, Rey, this.
Yeah, so for me, it's any immigrant population and community I feel at home in. Like I said, my husband's Italian. His family came to Canada, and when we met, we had that sense of like community that I feel like all immigrants kind of have, because we all have a shared experience, right?
Yes.
Like we've all kind of been through finding our way in a new place. But there's a growing Afghani community here. We almost share a language with the Afghani population here. There's a small Iraqi population here. There's a great grocery store in Winooski, right around the corner, that my mom and I shop at. And so yeah, and there is an Iranian community. I've been trying to kind of get involved. There's an Iranian student union at UVM, but I have not been able to kind of find the time to connect with them, but they celebrate a lot of cultural Iranian events. And I've, as a legislator, every year I do Persian New Year kind of devotional to let other legislators know like about other cultures, and like our New Year and our big holiday in Iran is very different than Christmas or other holidays. So
Tell me a bit about that.
yeah, so it's Persian New Year is always on the first day of spring. So it's the spring equinox, and it's about rebirth and growth and
Okay.
just newness and spring, and kind of turning over a leaf. And we have this really cool tradition the Wednesday before. It's called Charshamba Suri, and you jump over fires.
Ooh.
And that is supposed to signify like leaving the past behind, which how
Okay.
cool, right? Like even if you had a really horrible year, you leave it. You jump over the fire, and now you're jumping into the new year, which will begin in a few days. And we have really cool symbols that signify like wealth and hope and health, and it's a really cool kind of traditional holiday that is not religious, which is another cool thing about it, is that you know, and it's celebrated by, you know, millions of people all across the world.
Nice.
But a lot of Americans don't really know about it because, you know, we're very Christmas oriented,
Yeah.
or, you know,
To get invited.
more
to that
Anglo.
party.
Yeah, we should do a combo party. That would be
That
fun.
would be
yeah.
great. That would be wonderful. Invite me, please.
Yes.
I'm inviting myself as not polite, but I don't
Everybody's
mind.
invited.
How about you, Corali?
Oh, yeah. For Peru is, well, for me particularly is weird to mention that I do have a lot of connections with many of the Korean immigrant and ethnic groups here in Vermont. First of all, I'm very mixed. I have African, Native, I have many, even Asian. It's just like a combination that really helped me to relate to many of the people who I'm serving also through my work.
Okay.
The food, African food, and the tradition. Even in Peru, there is a population because Africans came as slaves, and there is Afro-Peruvian culture that is very strong, and the food that we eat there, and actually the dances that we have that we can still. I actually grew up learning a lot of Afro-Peruvian dances and eating a lot of Afro-Peruvian foods. There is like cow's heart, liver, and many other things, which is probably what, you know, back then, as slaves, they will eat, you know, the organs, the beef, the cow's organs and stuff. But we love it. I mean, I love it. I go to Montreal to Peruvian restaurants just to eat those particular dishes. Some of them I can make it. Some other ones that are a little more elaborated are kind of difficult, but I have to go to Montreal or Boston to be able to get those dishes, but are delicious. And so I'm able to relate with the Nepalese. The culture are really similar, and Peruvians and Latin Americans look so much as Nepalese. We both get confused by, oh, you are Nepalese, or are you Latino? Even they are Nepalese. Like, and we culturally too have similarities. Yeah, it is amazing to be able to see some of the roots of our cultures in tradition, being even with the Native Americans here too. A lot of my Native American culture, traditions, and practices, I can feel, you know, the respect for the land. Working harmoniously with nature is just something that resonates a lot with my soul. It's just like it understands it, you know, more. It can feel it, and I can just feel a little bit like home in that respect. All the Native American names, it's just like it feels like my brothers and sisters from, you know, different continent. So it is weird, but it is at the same time kind of fulfilling in a way, because it's like I'm visiting or getting to know my cousins, you know, from the far. Yeah. And it's just very hard to explain, but I feel like I belong to many of the culture, and I see what my culture is so mixed and diverse in my country, and how we were able to kind of fuse all of those components from many different ethnic groups in the past that have come to our country and kind of integrated in, no fuse or blend, but give it a space. So here we talk about the melting pot, which I don't know if I like it. In my country, we have given it a space to be, you know, Afro-Peruvian. It's not like we have melted it and it became Peruvian. It's like still have, like, we acknowledge that it's Afro, they came from Africa culture, and we give it a space and the importance, and we still practicing and teaching at schools all those traditional dances and culture. So it's a thing, as well as Asian, Chinese. We have the ceviche, for example, and that is a heritage from the Asian community, the Chinese and Japanese, actually more the Japanese part of it. And ceviche is original from Peru. So we haven't really melt them. We have given them a place to be, a belong. It's okay to be you here in our country. So you are Chinese Peruvian or African Peruvian or Native Peruvian. It's just like no melting it and making it one, but respecting.
Yes.
The one, and I think I like it that my country did that, and we, I grew up going to a Chinese Peruvian school, and I have learned Chinese. I used to sing in Chinese, Mandarin, and write from up to down all the characters and everything because of my grandfather. And one of my last names, because we hope of, is Ling, L-I-N-G. So, and I used to dance the traditional Chinese music and songs and dances. And it's amazing that now I can see when some group from China comes to the fling, and I'm like, oh, I used to dance that. I know how to dance that. And so it is amazing how we were able to give it a space and respect that, those traditions that are coming from other culture, but at the same time giving it the sense of you can be from another culture, you can have that other traditions, but be part of the bigger society of Peru. So that was beautiful, and that everything have like a compartment on me because I have learned. I know Afro-Peruvian dances as well as Chinese Peruvian dance, and in Native. We cook and we have traditional religious spiritual practice. So because we are already so diverse culturally in our practice and everything, so it wasn't that foreign for me to come and be part of all of those different backgrounds. So it was like a second nature to me, and I know how to be part of those communities if they didn't feel that I was a foreigner, and I wasn't feel like I was learning anew. It was like so cool to be like with authentic Chinese, authentic people from Africa, and I was like, oh, I know how to dance that, and they wouldn't believe me, and they would say, no, you are Musungu, and I'm like, no, I'm not a Musungu so much, so let me show you, and they will be amazed by the fact that I can, I understand all that, because appearance, you can appear some way, but they don't know the heritage that can be inside of you sometimes. So,
yeah, we unfortunately live in a world where we have to compartmentalize ourselves. We have to define ourselves as either this or that, but not the combination of all the above.
Yeah.
And hopefully we will be evolving to a place in humanity where we can celebrate everything that makes us who we are. But we're not there yet. But just to hear what your experience was living in Peru, with all the tensions that presently still exist within South America and Peru itself, you were still able to acknowledge and celebrate those various aspects of who you are. In this nation, I need to ask the question of each of you. Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe being a resident, being an American who was born in another country in this nation? You mentioned the experience of your daughter, but how does that translate also with your experience?
Yeah, I would say I felt a lot safer 2 years ago than I do today, especially in the early days of this federal administration with the immigration rhetoric, where it didn't matter if you were American citizen, if you weren't born here, if you were naturalized. I felt that risk very viscerally, and started thinking about what would happen if there's a knock on the door and they just say, "You two, we don't like what you wrote on social media, and we don't care that you're a naturalized citizen. You no longer have a right to live in this country," which they can do, which is really frightening. This administration has blown through every norm and standard in government. I work in government and I'm a legislator. I've worked in state government for 21 years in Vermont and have done really important work, I think, and served a lot of Vermonters. But, governments are not all built on policies. There's a lot of norms that this is the way things are done, because it's just not possible to write it all down, and it's not necessary to write it all down and make it a law or a policy. And this administration is just not going by that rule. Yeah. So it is very different. I'm very hopeful. We have an amazing Attorney General, an amazing Secretary of State, who are really fighting the fight every day against this administration and trying to protect our rights to vote.
You're referring to the state attorney general.
The state attorney general, not the federal, right?
Yeah,
helping us in Vermont stay protected and keeping our voting rights and making sure that lawsuits are filed, and we join, other states that are pushing back against some of the administration's policies. But, on the other hand, Vermont is where I built my life. This is a place I've lived the longest out of and I've lived a lot of places, but this is home now. My daughter, who was not born in Vermont, aches for Vermont. I mean, she loves this place so much, and it's just such a joy to have your child grow up in a place where, even with all the imperfections, she feels at home, she feels safe, she feels supported. We have amazing friends. We have really great services in Vermont. We do a good job of taking care of each other, and I'm really proud. I personally have had something to do with that, working for the state, being a legislator, working on policies that help, organizations like yours or other organizations that really help vulnerable Vermonters, immigrants, people who, are fleeing and trying to find refuge here in Vermont. So, and I'm also, I'll give credit to our current administration. They do a good job of trying to help immigrants. We have an office that helps immigrants in state government and brings stakeholders together. So I think we're ahead of a lot of places, and because of our size, I think we have more impact, right? People have access to the services, and there's less wait times and so on. So it's a mixed bag, right? But I'm an optimistic person by nature, and for the most part, I feel safe here. And
Good.
It's home.
Good.
I'm hopeful.
Papouto.
Yes, I do feel safe in Vermont, and I've lived most of my time in the U.S. in Vermont. I do have some family in Massachusetts. I've been there a couple of times, but most of my time here, I spent that in Vermont. And that's where my family is as well. My mom, my dad, sisters, and brother. So that community and family makes me feel safe.
Good. Corali.
Yeah, I feel at home because this is where my children are growing up, where I have built lasting friendships, and where I have the privilege of serving and learning from people of many different backgrounds. For sure, this is the place where I have lived the longest, besides my country. Last year was half now. It's a little, like many immigrants, there has been moments where I felt uncertainty or fear, for sure. But I have also experienced tremendous kindness, generosity, and support. To me, safety is not only about physical security, it is about knowing that you belong, that your voice matters, and that every person is treated with dignity and respect. And that sometimes is definitely not happening even in Vermont, you know. In fact, that's the reason why the projects that we are running exist, because we're trying to advocate for equity, social justice for immigrants and refugees, and in many different issues. And many families, I have been terrified to even going to Canada at the beginning of this. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know, it's a lot of uncertainty that creates the amount of fear that I know that I'm a citizen, but you know, I just bleached my hair, but before I was dark, and that was even worse probably. I didn't mean to be this blonde, but then here I am. Maybe on Friday they will make it darker. but on the other hand, maybe I need to be a little more blonde nowadays. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like they are profiling you. A lot of my brothers and sisters, they are looking more native, like Ecuadorians, or we have also a lot of Latinos that are Black, and they are also being targeted. Families are being separated. Kids are being traumatized. Parents and mothers are like horrified, you know, having nightmares of being away from their kids. This is not a safe place by any means, and I feel like we could do better, even though, I mean, for me, is one thing or another. We cannot be gray, you know. Sometimes Vermont tries to be gray, but it's either Black or white in many of the cases. Or you either enabling the problem, or you are part of the solution.
Yeah.
So that is what it boils down for me, and is I think there is a lot of room for improvement for us to really think that we're safer, yes, but I don't think we are safe for you know for sure, to say the least.
Yeah. The preamble to the United States Constitution says this: "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." Clearly, the framers of this Constitution realized that this was not a perfect union. America was not a perfect nation. And many continue to believe that it is a great experiment in democracy. What, in your estimation, must be done to achieve a more perfect union? I know this is a question that will take forever to answer, but just from your just firsthand experience, what needs to be done? What are the fundamentals that need to be done to make America? I was about to say "make America great again." That's a phrase that has been promoted in very negative ways, but. To make America a more perfect union, what do you feel needs to be done?
As we all know, America is a country of immigrants, so I feel like we need to take more time to understand each other's differences. That way we can learn from each other and know how to, you know, treat each other and behave around each other. Mm-hmm. Just like in Peru, right? It's important to give people their space, you know, so that they can be themselves and then make them feel welcome at the same time. Yeah, and I feel like certain places in America, people are not, they don't feel like they're welcomed. Like we feel like we're welcome in Vermont. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I like about Vermont. Like, they make you feel welcome, and people are willing to get out of their way to help you out when you need help. So yeah, to phrase it again, it's basically to try to learn each other's difference.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
You should know that this program is also being aired outside the state.
Okay.
So we may be a wonderful promotion for people who are considering coming to Vermont. Corali, what?
Yeah, this is very interesting. Actually, I was looking at the question and I was like, okay. There's a lot of things. A more perfect union, like you were saying very well, begins with listening. You know, you have to listen to people, to one another, with respect.
Yes.
Yeah. Even when we disagree, especially when we disagree, we need stronger public education. Definitely, because if you are not well educated, then you are, especially with critical thinking, right? Because nowadays with AI, you can get all the answers, I guess. But even AI can trick you if you don't have critical thinking.
Yes.
You know, so equal opportunities, fair treatment under the law, communities where every person is valued regardless of where they are born, the color of their skin, or the language they speak, right? We must also deepen our understanding of democracy. I don't think we got it quite right. And this is why I think true democracy means that public institutions exist to serve the people, not the other way around, okay? And I believe we should move away from hierarchical and imperial models of leadership, where the power flows from the top, right here, down towards an inverted pyramid model of democracy. In this vision, we, the people, who are usually at the bottom, we're at the top, right? Doing what? We, the people, stand at the top of the inverted pyramid, making the decisions and setting the directions, while the elected officials and public leaders stand at the foundation, right here, supporting the implementing the will of the people with integrity, accountability, and a commitment to a common good. When those entrusted with authority faithfully carry out the will of the people while protecting the rights of all, our community becomes a stronger, more united, especially united, and more just. Democracy is strongest when every person has the opportunity to participate and contribute and be heard. You do not serve anyone when you are at the top of the pyramid, okay? Period. You do not serve anyone by doing this. And this is everything that this is our system.
Yeah.
There's nobody can tell me, come here, and if you can prove it to me that we're not doing this in every place, if that's not the system that we are implementing at this time. If we really want to turn things around, we need to do the opposite. We just don't need to do the flat thing or the circles. No, we need to grab the triangle and flip it into, you know, if we truly want to do democracy, because that is when you do consensus with the people. That's when the people, we the people, make the decisions and tell the people at, you know, the leadership what needs to happen as an implementators, as the facilitators, but not as a representative who decide for us.
Yeah. Given that, we're going to give you the last word.
Okay, and I'll try to be quick. I agree with everything that's been said. More listening to each other, listening and understanding our differences. I will say, like, it's not, you know, it's a more perfect union, right? Like, it's a constant evolution. And some of the things that you said, Corali, made me think of, like, democracy begins at the bottom, but the bottom has to get engaged. I think often people feel like because we have this top down, where people, it's like your local municipal government is where you can make the most difference in your community. And how many people attend their select board meetings? How many people run for select board? How many people join their commissions or, planning commissions, zoning commissions? Who is on those boards and who's making the decisions about where houses get built and how large the community is? That is a challenge in all of our communities across the country, but especially in Vermont. And I will say in Vermont, if we want a perfect Vermont, a more perfect Vermont, is we need to get more people involved in their government. And it's not in the federal government, it's not even in state government. It's like, go join your boards, go join the zoning commission, because if you want more housing built in your community, that's where those decisions are being made. They're not being made in Montpelier, they're not being made at the federal level. Funding may come from there, but if people are, if developers or builders are facing lawsuits from community members that don't want any development or things, growth in their communities, that's where people can make a difference. So I'm going to use my last word and tell people, get involved, run for boards, get on these boards, get on your zoning commissions, run for select board, run for state rep. These are like local government is where things, and you don't need to be qualified. It does not take any qualifications. So any one of us can do it. You need to be a Vermonter, you need to live here, and you can serve your community in that important way and make Vermont a better place to live.
I thank you all for your perspective on this, as not just talking about what we can do to make a better nation, but realizing that a better nation really begins from the local community and spreads outward. As an African American, I'm reminded that the majority of African Americans who participated in the war for independence, you might say, were on the side of the British. We felt too enslaved in this country, and the British was offering us freedom if we fought on their side. So the majority of African Americans, both free and enslaved, fought for the British, which means that we have come some ways in addressing the problems of inequality in this nation, but we have a steep uphill climb yet to go. And I thank you, individuals who were born in another country, but who have lived and contributed to this nation in wonderful and diverse ways, for sharing your perspective on this matter. We need to hear more of you when it comes to the direction this nation is taking. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you, our viewers, for participating in this session of the Talk Vermont. We will see you next time. In the meantime, be blessed. Bye-bye.
Let's talk about our hopes and dreams, beyond the reach it seems. Let's talk, confess I live in hell. I failed to fall this game. Maybe we can find a pathway forward or a clue. So we may together be a symbiotic harmony, where I can talk to you, you can talk to me. Let's talk, let's talk. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk.